Hi and welcome back to the countertop. And today we're making apple pie from Samin Nosrat. So the recipe I'm doing today is from this book, Salt, Fat, Acid and Heat from Samin Nosrat. She's a former chef from Japanese in Berkeley. And she brings into this book a very interesting concept, let's say this way, that any food that is delicious, that is good, needs to carry these four elements. So basically that will allow you to enhance the flavor, carries the flavor, balance everything on the flavor, and in the end, with the heat, gives the texture. And the recipe we are doing today is an apple pie. I love this recipe pretty much because this recipe is a little bit different. At the same time, makes everything super easy, like almost a foolproof apple pie for you to do. Okay, so we're gonna do this recipe in two parts. So the first part we're gonna do the crust. The second part we're gonna do the filling and bake the pie. All right, so let's start with the crust. So here's all the 6 ingredients that we need for our pie crust. So the first thing is 2 cups and 1 quart of APF, a large pinch of salt. We're also gonna need a big tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of white wine vinegar, something about half cup of water, and 16 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and our paddle attachment for this first part. The first part, which is basically very simple, you're gonna mix the sugar with the flour and also our salt. You grab your own paddle attachment, you just mix everything to combine pretty much. You drop your paddle attachment here, and now we're gonna put the mixture of the flour, the butter, and the water in the freezer for something around 20 minutes. More or less, but like something around 20 minutes. You can put your own stand mixer bowl if you have space on your freezer. Otherwise, you're doing just like me. So 3 bowls to put in the freezer for 20 minutes, and then we continue the recipe, okay? And now after 20 minutes, I have everything here. So let's do this really quickly to not lose the temperature. So let's put our paddle attachment here. Put our flour here. And then now, I'm gonna start mixing on the lower speed possible and start putting your butter piece by piece. You're gonna mix these until you see the butter pretty much looks like some walnut pieces. And now we're adding the vinegar, super slowly. And finally, we're gonna put our half cup of ice water. And that's it. Just to make sure you grab a piece, see if it holds together. If it holds together, it should be fine. And then we're going to open a plastic film here, and without touching the dough with your hand, you just throw in the plastic film. And now what we're going to do is get more plastic film and try to make kind of like a bag of this dough, pretty much to hold together. We're gonna cut these into 2 pieces. And put each one of these content in another plastic film. And try to make a disc. Now that I have my 2 discs here, I will put these into the fridge overnight You can put at least 2 hours, but like I prefer to put these overnight, and then we continue with the other part of the recipe, okay? Let's continue for the second part of our recipe. So here's all the ingredients that we need for the apple filling. So it's 2.5 pounds of apples, half teaspoon of ground cinnamon, quarter of teaspoon of allspice, half teaspoon of kosher salt. You also gonna need half cup and plus a tablespoon of dark brown sugar, all packed, 3 tablespoons of flour, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. You also gonna need some sugar for sprinkling the pie, okay? So let's start. Cool, so the first thing I did, I turned my oven into 120 degrees Celsius. I opened my first disc, put in my plate, put in the freezer for 10 minutes, open the second disc, just put it like in a baking sheet in the fridge to chill. And now after I have peeled my apples, pretty much like 3/4 inch thick, I'm gonna pretty much grab all these ingredients and toss here. So basically the filling, you're just gonna grab all the ingredients and you're gonna put all together and toss it. Cool, so now we're gonna transfer our filling. I'm gonna get our other disc that we open. You're gonna trim this disc with a scissor. And now that we trim our disc on the top, we're gonna put on the bottom of the other one first. And to seal it, now you're gonna grab your 2 fingers, press here like that, do all over. Now after these 20 minutes, we're just going to open some place for our steam to escape. And then you're gonna get your heavy cream and brush it without being shy of that all over the crust. And finally, you're going to sprinkle your granulated sugar all over the pie. Cool, and now we're putting this into a baking sheet with some parchment paper or silicone mat. We're going to leave on 220 for 15 minutes, then we lower the temperature to 200 for more 15 to 20 minutes. Then we lower again to 180 degrees to 45 minutes, okay? So now let's put this into the oven. So here's our apple pie. Now let's open it and see. That's it. Now here's our pie. Let's taste it. It's really good. The crust is super nice, almost like a flaky, super nice crust. This is my first time doing this recipe. Honestly, the easiest pie crust I ever make. That's it. The pie is delicious. Again, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and see you next time. Bye.